Alright, well, not much progress, but a little bit. So I disassembled the K7 as I had it mocked up for the lights, and at this point I've glued the top two halves together and basically I just glued them together. I glued the top piece on as well, and I've used glazing putty, which is pretty common stuff. This stuff here for which is like an auto body filler thing that I think pretty much anybody who builds models is aware of at this point. And it's like a Bondo product, glazing putty. It dries really fast. However, I'm probably going to let this sit for a while because I want it to dry up really good. And what I've done is basically, I just kind of have it sitting on this here. But what I've done is just filled, I took a file to the seams and just kind of knocked down the high spots, and then I went back in with a little bit of sandpaper and whatnot and smoothed it out. It still had a bit of a seam there, so I just went around the whole thing and put spot putty on it and made sure it was good and thick, so that way this isn't going to stay. That way when I go back and sand it, I'll have enough area to work with in order to flatten it out. Hopefully, that's the plan or idea. Then at that point I can probably mask the windows and paint it, prime it. I've noticed the other thing that I need to do is put this on the bottom, and this piece needs to be glued here. And another thing that I noticed with that is in the reference photos that I have, which is this kind of thing that came with it. I don't know if you notice here, but there's a certain orientation that this sits at, which I think the screen original one had like a big, it was basically like a storage container. It was a little different than that, but that is orientated towards the back, and this needs to be orientated that way as well, so that's important. This obviously, this picture here is a, you know, like a airbrushed, I don't even know if that's a model, but it actually may be this model here. But the actual built model is down the bottom. If you've, there it is, if you've ever seen the kit. And whoever built it did a pretty good job. They did some shading and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Nothing too monumental with progress, but I do want to get this glued to the bottom here, because this piece is kind of, when I drill, I think I drilled through this and it became kind of flimsy. It's very thin, so I want to make sure I get a lot of this surface area here attached to this area here on the bottom of this, so it's very good and secure. Then I'll be running the wire down through here into this area, which will go to this area here, which is where all the pylons will meet, and I have to coordinate that to get them in secured and then get wiring in here. I used some large wire and I'm kind of regretting that now, but it won't be a problem because I'm basically going to run most of the wires right into this central area here. And the brass tubes I have, I may be able to connect the grounds right to the brass tube and then just tag a wire on that. I don't see that being a problem, but we'll see when I get there. I'm just going to take it one step at a time, let this dry and get some seams, see if I can get the seams knocked out, see how good they look when I sand it down, and then re-prime it, because priming will be important because it shows a lot of the imperfections. So that's it. Check back and get some more progress.